it took about 2.5 years to get to the trial date. We were hoping that it was going to be a lot earlier than that. So for me, it was a long wait. I was hoping to sort of get it over and done with quite quickly, and never really had any dealings with this sort of thing before. So I'd have phases where I think, oh, I wonder when it's going to be. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be before Christmas? Is it going to be after Christmas? And then when we were given the date a year before, so I kind of put it to the back of my mind. And then sort of from the end of July, it was like, okay, it's this year, it's soon, it's coming up now. So I started to feel quite anxious about it. And also we were going to the Crown Court, and I just had, you see it on TV, you see like the big courts and the judges with wigs, and you just think it's going to be scary. It's going to be really, really scary. And the closer it got to the trial date, suffered from insomnia and was really quite anxious, but kept going. Just thought, let's just get it over with, because he needs to be, he needs to be found guilty. He needs to be off the street. I need to know that I've done my bit so that, the children that he is around are safe. The witness service contacted me and said, we can do a pre-court visit, you can come down, have a look round, we'll show you where the witness area is, we'll show you the courtrooms. And that was really good, because again, I have this televised idea of court, and the witness care service, they're volunteers, so they've given up their own time, and they showed me around the court and said, you might be in this type of courtroom or you might be in this type of courtroom. So I went to 2 courtrooms. They explained to you where you would be, and in these sort of cases you're usually screened off from the defendant, and so they'd say, like, if you're here and your screen's here, you'll only be able to see the defence barrister, the prosecution barrister, the jury and the judge. And if at any point you need a break, you say you need a break. If you get asked a question and you don't understand, you say you don't understand. Or if you can't remember, you say you can't remember. You just be honest, and take a moment, don't get all flustered and answer immediately. It's your time on the stand, so you just take your time and we go at your pace. So that was really, really helpful. I found that quite an invaluable service. And when we got to court, the court that I was in, the witness unit, you have a separate entrance around the back that's key coded. So you're only let in by witness service staff. So you don't come into contact with any defendants in the court. And there's always staff there, witness care staff, so you could ask any questions. And our trial was booked for 2 weeks, so I went in every day. It's quite a long day, and we had the group, those of us that were there, we had people that weren't involved in the trial, because you're not allowed to talk about, you can't discuss the trial, you can't discuss the contents of your statements or anything. So you kind of have to fill your day with other subjects, I suppose. And then also, once I was there, the cafe that was in the court, I couldn't go to the cafe to get a drink or a sandwich because the defendant was milling around. So it'd be like a friend, it was like, oh, could you please go and get, can you go and get me a sandwich? There was tea and coffee provided. It was little bit like a posh doctor's waiting area, I suppose. You know, there were sofas. It was quite comfortable. There was a TV, but you know why you're there. So nothing really didn't sink in for me. You know, I couldn't concentrate on a programme. I took puzzles and a book and still didn't touch any of it. And the detective constable that dealt with the whole case, he was there every day as well. He was around, and the day that I was called up to give my evidence, he came in, and you go through your statement, so you get given that so that it kind of refreshes your memory of what you said. And then he said, because when I get nervous, or, you know, I giggle a lot. So I've already said to the judge and the barristers that, you know, when you get nervous, you can giggle, and it's not that you're finding a situation funny. That's how you deal with situations. It was a really, really long walk for me from the witness area to the courtroom on the other side of the court building. So I had butterflies in my tummy and was feeling really apprehensive. And then I was allowed to take a lady from the witness service and a friend. So they sat directly behind me. So it was very comforting to know that I had sort of people on my side that were there. And then, so I was taken into the courtroom first, and then the screens were put in place. Then the defendant was brought in, and then the jury and the judge. And it was a hard time. It was hard, but I didn't giggle, and I answered all the questions. And at the time I thought, well, you know, I've done my best. I can't do any more than what I've done. I've been honest. I've explained my side of things. And I did remind myself throughout that at the time of the events took place, I was a child, because the defence barrister was asking me questions that, as an adult, you kind of, you know the answers to, you know the right language to use, but then you have to be aware that actually when this happened, I was maybe 6 or 7, and I wouldn't have been aware of that at the time. So they do try and trip you up. That's how it felt. It felt like they were deliberately asking me the same question in different ways. And it was like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. The judge was very, very lovely. He did stop the defence barrister at one point and say to me, "Did you understand that question?" And I said, "No, I didn't. I don't know what he means." And he explained it to me in a different way, and I answered it directly to him. And then the judge said, "You know, that's your answer." And it was like, oh. Yeah, so I don't remember looking at the jury because they were directly opposite me, but I don't really remember making eye contact with them. I did try to direct my answers to the prosecution or the defence or the judge. And it was a big relief to get off the stand. It was a big, big relief to get off the stand. And I let my emotions go then. I did cry. But I've done my bit, and hopefully that's enough. The day that I got the verdict, that he'd been found guilty and he'd been sentenced to 2.5 years. And again, it was almost a surreal experience, because I just sort of went, oh, he's been found guilty. They believed me. And it was just like, they actually believed me. And he's got a decent sentence as well. I didn't know how to process the information. Again, I wasn't jumping up and down. It didn't feel like a joyous event. And I think it took quite a while for that to actually sink in. And I went through stages of relief and then guilt. I felt guilty that I'd sent him to prison. Because as a child, it was, you know, if you tell anyone, I'm going to get sent to prison, and they do bad things to people in prison. So I was almost battling my adult self with the knowledge of this is right, with the child that's, oh dear, what have I done? I've sent him to somewhere where he might get hurt. So I found that. And then I'd give myself a stiff talking to. I'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you feeling guilty? Because he's a dangerous person, and he's a danger to children, and he's manipulative, and it's the right thing. It's all very emotional, it's all very traumatic in a way. You know, you relive things that you'd rather not think about, but it's all for the best. You need to be able to heal yourself in a way, and you can't do that without taking steps forward and doing the right thing. And I'm a much better person now than what I was pre-disclosure, before I made disclosure. I understand myself a lot better. I understand why I've made certain decisions or why I've walked certain paths because of what happened to me as a child. And you know, you won't ever be completely healed, and you almost have to accept that it won't go away, but you can deal with it, and there are ways of dealing with it, and there are people out there to help you. And sometimes you do have to think, okay, the information isn't coming to me, I'm going to have to go and search something out. But you almost have to make yourself understand that you are not defined by the abuse, that it shouldn't define you. I think I'm a lot stronger. I'm able to think about things and not feel so down about it. I could think about it more almost as an outsider, almost as though I was just observing the situation and the events instead of like actually living it when I think about it.